we strongly advise you to step down and resign from the office of the Commissioner of Parliament, was among the statements that was made officially by the National Unity Platform to the now embattled former Leader of Opposition and Commissioner of Parliament, and and also Member of Parliament for Mpuugu in Masaka, and that is Right Honorable Mpuuga. In his response, he made a strong argument and a case where he averred strongly that he shall not be subdued to this pressure that is mounting from a small family interest group, but also that the advice was really cowardly, that is only meant to witch hunt and character assassinate his personality, was the response from the embattled legislator. Today we convene to really understand, is this a political, moral, or even a legal question? And to put all this into perspective, viewers, is a small panel of distinguished young people. And from the Makerere University School of Law is Trasslyeen Ankunda. Tracy has been on this show so many times, and for those of you who know her, know that she is very opinionated, and Tracy, always happy to have you.
Thank you, Kidega. Trasslyeen Ankunda is my name, just like Kidega stated, and I'm always happy to be part of this youth roundtable to share my views, but also to learn from fellow panelists here, as well as Kidega. So, thank you for having me.
Interesting. From the newly launched Yellow Youth Movement and also a member of the NRM Youth League is Nimrod Kakayi, and he joins us equally on set. And we are very happy to have you, Nimrod. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Comrade Kidega. Greetings, countrymen and women. My name is Nimrod Kakayi from the Young Yellow Movement, which is also under the NRM Youth League. I'm a member and a disciple of the philosophers of the movement. I'm glad to be here tonight.
Well, we are very happy to have you. So let's just begin right away, friends. Is that, Tracy, what do you make of whatever is happening? Just before I get into specifics, what do you make?
I think whatever is happening is a mixture of so many things. One, like you stated, politics at play. Two, the legal question, but then also the moral question. And I think that when you look at it broadly, politics is not an easy thing to deal with, because it's a question of interest of the different parties, but also different individuals. Equally, when you look at the legal question, one is that who makes the law, for who, and when? And when does the law become the law? Especially maybe in terms of where we have to say, now that most of people have been saying, this system does not work, this legal system does not work, but now we are saying, look, because it has happened to some side, you're saying, look, this is what the law states. And so we should go by what the law states. Article 93 of the Constitution of this country, the Republic of Uganda, clearly states it that, I don't know that I'm going much into the conversation, or I can proceed.
No, it's okay.
Yes.
Feel free. Yeah.
Okay. It states that for a member of parliament to have an extra remuneration, to have an extra addition maybe of any source of income, because this is funding of the government, they must do so, or they must only get it, one, by a bill to Parliament, or a motion which can be brought to House by a member of the executive arm of the government. Secondly, when we go to the question of precedent, what has been decided before in the different cases, for example, in the Constitutional Appeal number 8 of 2016, that is the one of the Parliamentary Commission versus the Mpuugu-Wilson case. Still, the court goes ahead to uphold that, look, if you are to get an extra income, if you're to get an extra pay, it must be asserted to right as the Constitution puts it. And I believe that courts of laws have over time used precedent to make judgments. And now, also, when it comes back to questions of morality or questions of the legal. Recent, I think yesterday, also the Uganda Law Society released a statement in the concept of this scandal we are talking about, the MPUUGA scandal. We are at a turmoil between Mpuuga and his supporters, as well as the NUP as a party, and the president, and also the supporters. And then we have the sympathizers of Mpuuga. And so this seems like a whole lot of mixture, you know. And then we have people who are saying, no, if it was, why only him? What does he deserve? Because we've had, I think we heard from the former opposition leaders, and they say that have not received such and kind of payment.
Maybe Mpuuga was a distinguished leader of opposition.
Distinguished.
Compared to the rest
Distinguished.
that deserve the service award.
You can say so, but are we answering a legal question, or do we answer a political question, or do we answer a moral question? And then I also think that when you're to look at a legal question, I think most of the legal questions must answer the idea of morality, or morality must exist most of the times because it has comprehended to some certain values, it has comprehended some certain kind of laws, or some certain kinds of customs that have been put in the society. So I would say briefly that it is quite a whole lot for us, you know, with the viewers, with the listeners, information from left, right, Twitter, media, newspaper. Everyone seems to have their own information, but I must say that there are those that are consistent, that are consistent. And one, when we look at the question of money, because I think that the Uganda Law Society tries to say that, look, one of the recommendations or the remedies it puts is that can we have a different now whole slot of segment that is in charge of these salaries, remuneration, what? Can we have that specific can we have that specific organ? Can we have that specific maybe commission that is definitely going to deal with such? But then also I would say that, does that answer the question of the challenge that we are having? Because I think Bobby Wine in his, I read somewhere in his tweet, on Twitter, where he puts that Mpuuga should just apologize and step down. So does that solve the problem? Or is there a problem anyways to solve? And I think that as of now, that's what I can say.
Okay, interesting. Nimrod,
Thank you.
You've heard from our good sister here. She gives her assessment, and you know, she asks more questions than answers. Because she says, are we going to deal with, is it a moral question? Is it a political question? Is it legal?
Yes.
But I'm just hear from you, in your own words, from last week when media was awash with these issues. What did you make of it, at your personal judgment?
Thank you. One, this to me communicates on the politics we are dealing with on the African continent, in the region, and in the country. When I saw such a story breaking in the media and the statement released on the official handles of the National Unity Platform, and also followed by a tweet by their party president emphasizing the same, it gave me time to think through, because you see, the question of leadership in the country, I think that's how far some leaders have degenerated. When you're dealing with issues of such magnitude, I don't think the public space is where answers are. That speaks to quality of leaders we're having in this country. Let me tell you why. For all the time I've been in the movement, I know that there are very many internal disagreements, but there is no any single day I have seen my leader, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, coming out in media to speak like the way I'm seeing how other friends are doing, to go against, to speak to their leader, not through private means. I mean, that speaks on the mechanism that the party has built. Now, what do I make of all this? This speaks to the quality of leaders we have in that area, in that space. That a leader of Matthias Mpuuga, a leader of Honorable Kyagulanyi, that they don't have mechanisms within themselves that they can sit and iron out such issues without coming to the public. Why? Matthias Mpuuga is the vice president of National Unity Platform in Buganda. Buganda as a region is the stronghold of that political party. Now, you are going in the public, exchanging words with you, the president or your vice president, in your own stronghold. What is the future like? We have seen factions in every other political parties apart from the movement. Now, that to me speaks to the question of which quality of leaders we have. And I was listening to so many people from there, and they're saying, for us, we're talking about our values. Our values. So do you want to tell me that the vice president doesn't understand the values of the party? Because if you go to address him like that, that speaks to what is it. But the other thing is that when I've listened to
well, there are those who hold the school of thought that that argument that you're advancing, that, you know what, this is a sign of immaturity, it should have been handled better. They've characterized that argument as those of corruption apologists. That if, I mean, call a spade a spade.
Yes.
Why do you want us to hide in the NUP boardroom to discuss issues that affect the gross majority of Ugandans, if not all Ugandans?
Thank you.
Because the money in question is taxpayers' money. So NUP is saying that, no, let's take this issue to the public, because, in fact, they must be part of this conversation, because in any case, these are their taxes.
Thank you. Now, then the leader of the party came out and made statements that left me shocked. Said, one, that is a constitutional issue, it is a legal issue, it is a moral issue, and the moral right thing to do is to resign. I mean, that speaks to me is the people who advises him, the people who he talks to. It is obvious that it's the thing that can't happen. Now, the argument you are saying that let it go to the public. All right, that's very nice, very interesting that let the public know. But does that solve the matter? Has the matter now been solved at any case? The man came out and also made the same public statement that said, I'm not going to scam to this small family clique, and I'm not going to resign from this position. Now, if a political party that we have built on moral values, on systems, has no internal mechanism to address this. Because when you read the reference from Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, says there was a casual and informal conversation we had at the party headquarters, meaning he never took it serious. That's what it was all about. He said it in his own letter, that it was an informal conversation, and now they're using that informal conversation that we had a meeting and we asked you to resign. Now that speaks to the party. Secondly, it also shows there's some bitterness when you listen to some comments. When you listen to some comments, a leader says, was it happening 2 months after the removal of a certain commissioner? Yeah? Why was I not being told? Why was I not told this before? Why am I learning it from media? Now, that kind of bitterness that is reflected, it shows the level of emotional intelligence some leaders have. Now,
okay,
as a leader...
Just to interrogate something, because there are those who say and insist that if you look at the demeanor of Right Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, you look at his political background,
yes,
you know, he has a rich history of politics.
Yes.
Let's go back to the days when you were still in the Uganda Young Democrats.
Yes.
They were the guys who, you know, championed the Kabaka issue in 2009. So there are those who say that Mpuuga, with his rich political history and experience, you know, poses a threat to the aspirations of Kyagulanyi, and perhaps that is the political issue that maybe Tracy was trying to allude to.
Thank you.
Are there undertones of political nature?
Thank you. Now, before I go to that, allow me help our viewers and give them a small background of of this issue, in my opinion. In 2006, when bill was enacted to give gratuity to distinguished leaders in this country, starting with the vice president. Later, they brought in the speaker and deputy speaker, and later they brought in the prime minister. I want to assure our viewers that it is only, it is only,
Nobody's always in campaign mode.
it is only a distinguished office like a leader of opposition that didn't have a service award, gratuity, and such rewards after serving the parliament. It's only in the top 4 in the parliament. Now, that's in Uganda. I can give you an example in Kenya. In Kenya, their service benefit panel code, it gives gratuity and service award to their leaders. In Tanzania, even in Russia. These things are all over. You can read anywhere and you'll find that information.
But
now,
isn't there a risk that we might find ourselves in? Because if you are to open that, aren't we opening floodgates for, even before you know it, even the MPs will ask for the service award. Before you know it,
but also it is
the LC5s also ask. Then the LC1 will be like, hey, but I served
but also,
LC1 for 10 years. Where is my service award?
let's make it also clear. Even members of parliament earn gratuity after their service. All of them. Just that we don't talk about it, but all of them, no one can deny it. They know it. It is clear. They get that handout. Now, for the question of Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, I think because it happened in his time, and that's why it has brought these political questions more than discussing the moral and the legal issues involved. Was it done in the right way? Was it done in the right time? We can discuss, but it must happen because you were a honorable leader of opposition. Honorable Atigo said that he served as a leader of opposition. He didn't have a laptop in his office. A distinguished leader of opposition. There is one leader of opposition who made a comment that I didn't even have a car. I didn't have staff. Today we are talking about a budget of a leader of opposition of 4 billion shillings with over 22 staff in your office. How do you expect such a leader of that magnitude after serving and they cannot afford fuel the following day to move? So to me, I agree with the issue of service commission.
Okay. I think,
now,
I think that
question, yes.
the mischief, because I don't appreciate your point, I think that the mischief behind the gratuity is that a leader who holds public office of that nature should be able to serve without being attempted to be corrupt.
Yes.
Because you know that, okay, at the end of my service, I'll get a gratuity or, you know, whatever it is. Therefore, there is no need for me, or they can easily decline the invitation to be corrupt and to misuse public funds.
Yes.
So I think that is the mischief behind it.
Yeah. So the question of, was it the right thing? I agree. We need such leaders should be given service awards for what they have done for the country.
But the amount? The
question of amount can be discussed, and the question of timing can be discussed, and the legal issues. Because when you read the statement of the Law Society, so it must have been a bill, and then a bill presented, and it is into law. But now the debate here, why the new people are making noise, is it is a person to hold that issue. They are saying it was meant to only be given to Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, not to a office of leader of what? Opposition. I think the right thing was to take it as a bill in Parliament and be passed into law, that moving forward, whoever becomes a leader of opposition is
that gratuity.
Yes,
or that service
is supposed to get this moving forward. I think that's okay. But for them to be awarded for what they have done in this country, a leader of opposition, it's okay. It is normal. It's okay. It is happening in all other countries which are growing economically.
Okay, but also shouldn't we bear in mind, and Tracy, I'll come to you. Shouldn't we bear in mind, because Nimrod argues that it is okay. It is a good gesture to reward someone for their, you know, distinguished service to the country. But also, like I say, to me, the way I look at it, and if you could get a copy of the Hansard, is that perhaps the mischief was to cure the defect of corruption and abuse of public office. That someone who holds such an office can easily decline the invitation to misuse public resources because they know that at the end of my term of service, there is a package that I will take home. So now the question there comes in on the legal perspective, that, you know, because we have mentioned that there is is it Gratuity Act? There is some law that already exists that is meant to compensate leaders upon their service. So the legal minds coming up to say that, okay, now this should have been a bill a bill before Parliament and etc., does that show that there is an insufficient, is the legal regime insufficient to deal with such a scenario? That is one. Two, is the political question that to me we cannot avoid, is that you look at the stature of Mpuuga. I mean, he has been a strong factor in NUP's politics. The people who characterized NUP as a group of hooligans, a group of non-intellectuals, found comfort in seeing people like Mpuuga say, okay, maybe this outfit is not intellectually inept after all. Because, I mean, if you have someone like Mpuuga, you don't doubt his, So I don't know, the political factor of Mpuuga, but also the legal question.
I think maybe to begin with the political factor of Mpuuga, one thing that we must talk about is that why now? Because like Nimrod said, this issue came around 2022. That's when it started. But we did not have such in the public. We did not hear the president of NUP say, no, look, this is not it. We did not hear him put out that voice and say, or we did not see him do all the inside remedies to cure the problem that he put. In fact, even Matthias Mpuuga says he has not been paid his money.
Which one? The 500 million?
Yes, he says he has not been paid his money and he's waiting for the installments to come in at whatever time. And he insists that he must get his money. Mm. And now, I think when you look at issues to do with finances, aspects of corruption, to me, I feel each and every day they get deep-rooted in society. And that's the moral aspect we are talking about. Mm. Now, back to the political question. I think that basically outcries, most of the times we've not seen them really help a lot. Most of the times we have not. But what does the NUP party believe in? What are their values, like they say? And if they are saying these are their values, did they entrust their power and authority with the wrong person? Or did the person change along the way? Or is the person even not entitled to get what they're saying he should be getting in the first place? And then back to ideas of reputation, ideas of political muscle and gain and aspirations, because most of the times we've seen people do it that tomorrow if I want to run in a campaign with Nimrod and then maybe an issue comes out, most of the times it is that Trasslyeen might gear it up and make it a public concern and make it look it is not what should be done because one, his image might be spoiled, two, and somehow I think I'm getting relevancy, so I'm buying the voters' sympathy. But look, I think I had one person say something that why some people are complaining is because it is not them getting the money. And I said, really? And the other said that while some are not complaining, they also look forward to getting part of the share. And I said, really? Someone tries to juxtapose the same position with two different angles that still benefit on whether you decide to say this is right or whether you decide to say this is wrong. I know that's the aspect of morality again. So I think on the aspect of politics, there is, I believe the NUP has a legal structure. I do believe strongly. They have a legal structure. And this is a person that is representing the leader of opposition. If they really have that ground and basis, how about they hold him accountable in a more legal manner that they are trying to show to the public that, look, Article 93 of the Constitution says it must be brought by the bill or a motion in Parliament by a member of the executive arm of government. Why don't they take that avenue? If they are there to nullify an act allegedly committed by their member, why don't they take that legal process? Because it seems, or it is to the fact that they believe the article, what it says is what must be done. And so it does not make sense if you believe that this is what should be followed under Article 93, but then you don't go ahead to take the necessary steps to get that remedy. Only for you to be in media and speak and talk. Because actually I read somewhere that in as much as you're shouting on media, you're doing this and that, you're trying to tell people this is your money, that majority of the Ugandans you're talking about are not even on Twitter. You know, they're not even reading these conversations. So how about you take it more practical and also create another precedent that, look, in as much as you think you're as powerful as this, you too still, the law applies to you. And if the law applies to you, then you must be dealt with as to and when and how the law deems it fit. So I don't want to say that the law is insufficient. The law might be there, but over time, there is one thing that we usually talk about, that some of the issues that we bring in are usually bedroom issues. And when those issues get out, then they become, everyone views them the way they want to view them. I'll view it as a political case. I'll view it as, if I'm a strong religious person, I might view it as a sort of misconduct and immorality and things that you should not be doing. And if I'm a lawyer or a law student or someone legally inspired, I would feel we have a vacuum here. But how many times do we have such? Because I think we have not appreciated the law that exists enough.
Okay, just let me interrogate something before we get deeper into the legal question. Because just putting it into perspective, Uganda is a signatory to the Abuja Declaration, all right, that basically dealt with the issue of healthcare, that member states must, commit a good percentage of their budget to the healthcare system. Uganda has, even when we have ratified that particular declaration, we have never fulfilled our obligations. But that is not the point. The point is that the cost of putting up a healthcare tool in Uganda, well, according to Ministry of Health, would cost around 97 million. All right? Now, this is healthcare two, not to mention healthcare one. So giving someone 500 million, well, I mean, we appreciate their service, but in the context of our economic reality, in the context of, looking at our debt burden as a country, we cannot finance our own development. Can't we say that, okay, whereas it's a good practice, other countries are doing it, but are we there yet? I think that is the moral question. I think that encompasses the moral question that, leaders should be magnanimous. They should be able to think beyond themselves. So still, the moral question vis-a-vis the current context, personally, I see a mismatch. Because, man, if you look at the healthcare system in Uganda, how many seed schools do we have at the lowest level?
Can I chip in?
That 500 million can do a lot to transform the lives of an ordinary Ugandan out there.
Okay, I think...
Okay, I will give you both a chance to speak to that.
I think that you raise a very important concern of right to health and everything. But also important to note is that when you're to look at those international instruments, they still don't make it. In fact, this one question that has been difficult for us to answer. They still don't put it in a way that the right to health is as much as important as, because it encompasses everything. If you don't have food, your right to health is denied. You might die. If you don't have water, you might die. If you're in a wrong environment, not clean, you might die. And it says that all this can be done under a progressive realization format.
Yeah.
And making it progressive realization is that it doesn't put it in a way that it is a must, you must do
but
that.
Also, I feel like to argue progressive realization is to be complacent and to be sympathetic and be like, oh, we are still at this level.
That's where I'm going.
I think we shouldn't invite that sort of sympathy. We should be able to say, okay, even when Uganda is not at the level where we want it to be, there are things that, out of our own actions, have stopped us from progressing.
And that's why you have people that are earning such money comfortable seated, because selfishness is at their peak. 2,
But also the law protects them,
the law protects them, but who makes the law?
those in power.
The law protects those in power, and the law protects those that make the law. People in parliament are the ones making law, and that law is going to protect themselves.
Who is that author who wrote the book on, was it John Locke, the book of Wealth of Nations?
Wealth of Nations?
Wealth of Nations, there's a writer who wrote that book, and they advanced the same argument that the law is only a tool for those in power to like protect. The law is made for those in power and for the wealthy to protect them from how should I put it? Like, the law is made for those in power to enable them
Get more power.
advance more power and retain more power, and also
Exactly.
protect the wealthy. So it's it's complicated.
It's complicated because if I am making the law is protecting me. There is no way I'm going to make a law that is not protecting me.
Nimrod, the same question that I posed, the moral
Yes.
question vis-a-vis
Yes,
the actual reality.
I think we are losing this debate by reducing it to discussing 500 million. It's a lot of money, yeah? But the corruption in this country that we must speak about is too high, that we're reducing and trying to make sure that this country is stuck because someone was awarded 500
By the way,
million.
the National Youth Council budget for this quarter
Yes.
is less than 500 billion.
Now,
Can you imagine the entire Youth Council
Council
is
is
only
less
one
than-
person? So.
Now, why am I saying that? That there's so much corruption scandals in this country that are deterring the economic development of this country that we must pay attention to. You were a journalist,
Who, me?
whatever you are, but
I'm a lawyer by training. Not a journalist.
but a journalist by practice.
By situationship.
My situationship.
A journalist by practice. I want to tell you that I read a shocking story of importation of goats in this country. Each goat worth 7.3 million. Yeah? And
But-
in billions of shillings. Now, these moral issues that we
Actually,
must.
someone who is an ardent mutualite
Yes.
will tell you that those gods had golden balls.
That's a nice meza conversation. So what my point I'm making, comrades and our viewers, that I agree. The question of 500 million is too much money. But this should speak to, because as we're discussing on Matthew and Mpuugu, the NRM commissioners also received 400 million. At the same time, who awarded themselves 400 million each. And these are NRM commissioners.
Their party has not sanctioned them.
No one even talking about it. I belong to that political party. Yeah? We're not talking about it. Now, the question of moral decay, the question of corruption is too high. That we should not reduce the whole debate. This debate should enable us to think ahead, to think big, should widen our mind that, okay, what is happening? Who checks Parliament? Who checks Parliament Service Commission? Who checks the commission when it comes to awarding themselves with this whole thing? Who checks the speaker when she changes from earning $990 as per diem to $4,000 per day? Who checks that? And it is a reality, and it's there, and it's done by the commission. So I don't think it is morally correct for also us to just...
So Parliament is an institution that determines its salary.
Yes, it determines its pension, emoluments, allowances, and its salaries. All that by itself. Now, who checks Parliament? Now, before we castigate Honorable Matthias Mpuugu alone, we must ask the commission in totality. Because they did this, not him alone. They were seated, I think, in a square room, and they decided to make these cuts. Yeah? So, if the country rose to 1.7 billion in those service awards, That should be the debate. That money can do a lot in health. Yes, you're correct. It can do a lot in youth council. Yes, it's correct.
In education.
In education. It can do a lot. But they have sent it to us, service awards, and as person to holder. That it is for them and for them. If another person comes, they also wake up and say, now those ones got 400 million, for us we need 1 billion.
Yeah.
Because it's not a law, it's not a bill. It was for themselves for that minute. Even they served for next 2 days only, and they were removed, they were going to get that money. You get? Now, in my opinion, the way moving forward is that it should be a law. To award leaders, okay, I agree. But it should be a law so that is deterred. I'm telling you and our viewers that moving forward, the problem at hand is that then other commissioners will come in. The next leader of opposition may even get a higher pay than that. Because the Constitution, the guidelines give them a chance to do that, to get money from the consolidated fund and award themselves. So, as much as is a question of moral decay, I think it's also a question of moving forward. How do citizens raise up and ask and question Parliament on how it runs the country? 2, I think I agree highly that there must be an establishment of a payroll commission in this country that determines the payment of the executive, determines the payment of the judiciary, and determines the payment of the legislation.
What does the Public Service Commission do? Don't they have that mandate?
They don't have the mandate to check.
Because ideally, the Public Service Commission should be able to...
I had the same discussion that we think the Public Service Commission should come in to check Parliament. But in reality, it does not check. It stays only on this local government and civil servants. Yes, I know those are also leaders, but Parliament is not checked. It has all the authority to determine its resources and how it spends it. That's why I'm saying the budget of leader of opposition was raised from 1.3 billion to 4 billion. Did you hear any debate in that anywhere? That is a reality, that it was raised.
Okay.
And I'm sure in this next financial year, it will raise to 6 billion. Maybe even Parliament will raise its budget. Now, who checks that?
Just to interrogate something right there, because there are those who have made the advancement that, you know what, this country needs legal reforms, that perhaps maybe, and I think you've made the same argument that we need a payroll commission. No, those are legal solutions. But maybe there are those who say that maybe we need structural reforms, because this is a structural issue. Because I can assure you that even when you go to the lowest level of administration in this country,
yes,
the corruption might not be what we see at this level, but believe me,
it's a problem.
it exists even at that level.
Yes.
Of course, we don't get to hear about it because, I mean, at that level, it's about, you know, small monies, 200,000, so people don't mind.
But it's corruption.
But it exists.
Yes,
so
corruption.
The structure, how can we, because the moral question, I don't think we can address a moral question with I don't see a legal solution curing a moral question.
I think
moral questions, I think there are some institutions that we would put at the forefront. We have culture institutions. Because it goes to the upbringing of someone.
Recently, I'm dwelling in a discussion of decentralization of this country. How has it benefited the country, and how far has... I'm doing a lot of research about it, and how has it costed the country? This country in the African continent is blessed with the highest number of leaders. This country has 3 million plus leaders.
That's a burden to the
That
taxpayer.
everywhere you are seated here, among the 10 people, you believe there are 3 who are leaders. Elected leaders. Yeah? Now, it is a cost to a growing economy. It is a burden to a growing economy like Uganda. But also, the ideal was to make sure that services reach the people. But now we have realized it is becoming more burden than the ideal in the beginning. That let's decentralize everything, create a number of leadership organs, and give power to the people, and get service to the people. But now it's getting the other side. So the question of structuring the country and the legal reforms, I think it's long overdue. Why? A human being is a moving human being. The question and the issues and the environment that surrounded during the formation of 1995 Constitution are not the issues that we're dealing with today. Naturally, things continue happening. And I believe the Constitution must address issues also surrounding its environment. It must not detach itself from the issues that are reality in the ground. So that the amendments, the changes, the structural changes, yes, they have been long overdue because they must be able to address the issues we are dealing with currently. So I highly believe that as we discuss the question of the commission, we must not lose sight to discuss the question of corruption, the question of moral decay of leaders, and the question of the future of this country politically.
Interesting. Lynn, I'm coming to you actually. How deep are we analyzing this issue? Because Nimrod has just given us statistics that in this country, in every 10 people, there are 3 leaders. But also, if you look at the size of our parliament, almost every tribe has a constituency in this country, at least 2 constituencies. The reason behind the by-election of Soroti was a question of the boundaries, which was caused largely by a difference in a tribe. If you go to Tororo, Tororo has failed to administer itself because of the issue, the tribal issue within the district, all right? Now, the question is, how deep are we looking at some of these issues? Are we merely on surface, or we have to go back to the point of state formation in Uganda? That at the point of state formation in 1962, this was a country of multi-nations. So putting us all together, in fact, there was a report by one of the colonial masters then that we are living this country, yes, but with the way we are living it, us ourselves are scared about, how it will turn out. So is President Museveni caught up, or these countries' leaders, are they caught up in between a rock and a hard place, that you must deal with the actual reality of the country, that there are so many tribes, and politically you have to see how to either manage them, and that leads to gerrymandering, constituency after constituency, and in fact they are not being effective. So my question is, how are we looking at issues like corruption, issues like the high cost of public administration? Do we have to go back to 1962 maybe on state formation and be like, okay, actually this is where we went wrong as a country? Yeah, but also you had a comment.
I wanted to comment on Nimrod's, and also I think it was stemming from your argument as well. When he talked about the corruption that is at the grassroots, 2,000, I pay you because I need something. 10,000, I pay you because I need something. And I think, is it time to say we really need to answer the economic question? Because why do most of these people do this? 1, for a better living. 2, some of the times you're going to get a job and they're telling you, pay 400 or pay 3 million, and then your son will get a job.
So those are the structural issues.
Of 1 million. Of 1 million. Is it not time that we really give that? Because I think most of the people are desperate, and they want to, even if it is the smallest that they can earn something from, they will do all it takes to get there. And so that is how you will have your father paying 2,000 to someone to get you a seat on some position. But also back to your question of the boundaries. I think if we bring in more of the boundaries, it has seemed to be more of an inherited colonial setting. The boundaries, who said, now look, for you of Uganda, for you of Banyankole. The spirit of Ubuntu, the spirit of oneness, seems to have been put into attack. 1, by the boundaries. 2, because I'm a Munyankole, because I'm a Muganda. 3, because I come from this region, you come from that region. Maybe also 4, because maybe you are educated, because you're not. And I think we also always have it wrong when we say that, okay, it is very prominent that people who have gone to school, people whom we expect to make society better, most of the times have done otherwise. Who are these corrupt people in the government positions? These are degree holders professors, you know,
Elite.
top class citizens of this country. These are people who should help us. But guess what? These are people who are doing contrary. So the question of boundaries, the question of I am this and that, can only be answered if we realize that, look,
It doesn't matter, actually.
look, we are human first.
Yeah.
Ubuntu, oneness, togetherness, unity. If we can only realize that, because I think the setting we are in right now is basically because it is the setting that the colonialists have positioned unto us. One, their aim was divide and rule, and you do not do divide and rule if you do not categorize people and tell them what identifies you is because you are a Munyankwere, what identifies you is because you come from Acholi, what identifies you is because you come from this area. And I think they achieved it. But have we for long enough not realized that, look, this is not the trend? Can we appreciate more of Africanity? Can we appreciate more of oneness and Ubuntu spirit? That's when I think we can have dealt away with these questions of, this is what identifies me first. This is what I partake to be.
In fact, it would not matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it was Mwalimu Julius Nyerere who made that argument very well. That you see, when development and our common objective, our shared prosperity is at the center of our engagement, then believe me, your personal background is irrelevant. Your tribe, your religion, your education level ceases to be primary, because at the center of our engagement is our shared prosperity. Yeah, we are due for a short commercial break, and the viewers, don't move a muscle. We are still here, and see you shortly after.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
We'll be back from that short commercial break. So, guys, let's just try to use the next 25 minutes to finish this up. There are those who believe that, and if you hear Maria Matembo, senior citizen as she likes to be called, she makes the argument that the NRM has never believed in multi-party dispensation, and that is why you see the issues internally in political parties. You look at FDC, it's in turmoil. FDC, DP is almost non-existent. UPC is at war with itself. So the likes of Maria Matembe say that the NRM has never believed in multi-partyism. They've always wanted Uganda to be a single-party state, or better say, the movement system. Yes. And that the issues within political parties is those who are at the end of the struggle say that these are orchestrated by an invisible hand. Yes. That's how they want to call it. So I don't know, moving towards 2026, with the chaos in opposition political parties, where does this leave, for example, the NRM? But
okay.
Will this be NRM's
Thank you.
simplest election ever?
Thank you. One, just for the records, it is going to be the easiest and simplest election ever for the NRM. But to put perspective to your question, you see...
Is it because of YYL?
because it's delivery, the last one from Zay. But to put this into perspective, you see, when you're married, and as a man, you're important. Yeah? You cannot get jealousy of your neighbor's wife and family who have handsome kids. Because it is your own personal problem that you don't have kids because you can't produce. Now, why are you jealous of the neighbor who has handsome children?
Is that a saying from the hills of Namisi?
Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that, comrades and our viewers? That I was beginning this conversation and I said this whole thing speaks to the quality of leaders. Why President Museveni is, to me, the third greatest human being on the African continent.
After who and who?
I will reserve that. Because I don't want to start another debate. But of course, after Mandela and Kwame Nkrumah. It is because of the leadership style he has employed and deployed in his life as a leader. To manage people, you must understand the interests and understand the politics of interest and how it works. The question of political ideology and the bankrupts of political ideology in some political parties, it is the whole thing. The moment they address those two issues, they'll have serious political parties like NRM. The question of political bankrupts, ideological bankrupts, and the question of politics of interest. And how do you apply it? And when do you apply it? That is, I wish everyone goes to their knees and they pray for wisdom to get that basic knowledge, to run their political parties. So, it is sometimes I feel hurt that at the end of President Museveni, with the kind of political parties we have, where will Uganda go? For you to start blaming NRM that it has an invisible hand in your political parties, it's like this important man blaming the neighbor's family for failing to have kids, because it is not their business. Their business is to ensure that mobilize, win, and control power. That's the NRM. If you are internally have failed to address the interests, to address the issues of ideology, even to address the simple reason of why do you want power, then how do you sit and blame the current leadership? Two, why do you allow the invisible hand, if at all is there, to reach you? Now that speaks to also which quality of a leader are you. And that's why you see, today you'll see a leader in this political party, the following year, they cross to another political party, and the other year, even the same Honorable Matthias Mpuuga. This is a DP block that was brought into a UP. And trust me, you'll be shocked as revelations happen. Things may happen that even by 2026, they are different. Now, that's political and ideological bankrupts that is in this country. By our leaders, some of our leaders, that they don't have reasons why they stick to a particular political party. As long as their selfish interests are not met there, they run away. They want things made for them. There is nowhere in this world that success is not a result of hard work. For us, in the movement, we believe that victory is a result of mobilization. When you mobilize better, victory comes sweeter. So, moving forward, in this political disperses, yes, we are in, and we know we have so many political parties that are operating in this country, and it's happening for the first time in the history under the NRM government. So if you accuse a party that it has not enabled you to operate, but it's the same government that is sanctioning billions of money every single quarter to your political party to enable you to operate, you will know that every party that has representation in parliament, FDC, NUP, DP, PPP, NRM, and JEMA, every single quarter, no one should lie to you. President will endorse that budget, and you know that that money is coming for you to mobilize. Meaning he's giving you a chance and empowering you to come and mobilize against him. But you have failed with even the resources at your disposal because you have not answered the two core issues, which NRM has answered. Any serious member of the party knows the values, knows the ideology of the movement. And now, if I asked you what is the ideology of DP, I have never understood it. Not because I am not DP, but at least DP knows our ideology. He knows what we stand for. NUP knows what NRM stands for. That's it. That's mobilization. That it must be easily and ably understood by everyone in the country. So for you, because of the internal weaknesses, and you accuse it to someone who has even enabled you, giving you resources, giving you the environment, allowing you to build everywhere and do whatever you want, and you are saying they are not, there's an invisible hand to disorganize you, that's a problem. My study point is also the quality of leaders. If a leader you allow to be compromised with your morals, with your values, with your integrity, then you are not supposed to be a leader. A leader, you must be example. Now, which example are you giving us that every single year you are changing political parties? It means you have no stand. You have no stand as a leader. So as a leader, you must be defined and be known for something.
But also, we know that President Museveni was in UPC at some point.
Definitely.
He was in, I think, DP.
And he has
UPM,
labored so much to explain how he came to be there. It was a question of ideology. And when he answered his ideological intrigues, and formed, and as a sat, and they decided that as moving forward, we are forming NRA, which came into NRM. This is our ideology. Up to date is the same. Yeah, this is the 4 core values: the socio-economic transformation, the Pan-Africanism, the democracy, and patriotism is known by every single NRM member, and that's what defines us, what drives us. That's what guides us, even as members. So, political parties are weak. Those who are not, for example, not in NRM, of course, are weak in terms of their internal organization, that they cannot answer the basics. Now, let me give you the last example on this. A leader of the stature of Honorable Trasslyeen must speak last.
Speak last?
Yes.
That is according to...
Now, I'm telling you why he must speak last. When he speaks, no one should speak again. He should not be brought into a debate. He must come out to give direction. There are very many, every district, people endorsing President Museveni come 2026, right? Have you seen him speaking? Because he knows that when he speaks that I'm coming, who will endorse him again? Who will mobilize and say, okay, we're going to endorse? No one, because it will be done. It will be done. That he has spoken, okay, I'm coming. No one will speak about it again. It will be done. Now,
he has been asked to come by the young people.
Yes. So and now he has left it for you to continue speaking. Then he will come and make a final what? Declaration. Now, a lead of, those are things that should learn from the president, like Museveni. A stature of Honorable Trasslyeen must come to speak last. Because when he speaks, no one is supposed to speak again. Now, he has brought a debate. Literally, he's engaging in a debate. Please resign, don't resign. Please do the moral thing. Now, that speaks to quality of leaders. That you were providing guidance to a country and you're allowing yourself into a petty debate. And your vice is defying you, saying, by the way, I want to resign. And you say, by the way, you better resign. You get. Now, that speaks to quality. Now, such a political party, I will not be surprised that in the next 5 years or 2-1 is no longer there. I will not be shocked because it has no definition. So moving forward, in 2026, this is going to be the easiest NRM win because even opponents who think they are opposing NRM, literally, it is obvious. You can see. There's nothing they are opposing. Thank you.
Lynn, let me come to you. Those who speak with cynicism have said that this departure between Bobby Wine and Mathias Mpuuga is the beginning of the fault line that is going to lead to the destruction of, the NUP as a party, because Mathias Mpuuga has his loyalists. By virtue of his character, he came with the DP bloc, the Subi group that came from DP, the likes of Mwanga Chivumbi, the likes of Betty Namboze, but also his stature in the country generally. I want to decline the invitation to speak about his position in the kingdom of Buganda and his influence therein. Neither do I want to speak about his backing of the Catholic Church because those are parochial issues.
But you have spoken about them.
Yes, but just to allow the argument to like have some context. All right, I will accept the invitation to speak about these parochial issues. But the point is, if you look at Matthias Mpuuga, should these two individuals fail to, sit on a table and agree, could this be the beginning of the end of the NUP? Or the opposition is in the people, that whether Matthias Mpuuga leaves, whether Bobi Wine does what, it's the people who are opposing the regime. And for as long as there are still people in Uganda, there will be opposition. So where do you belong?
You see, when you are a father and you have children, there's usually sometimes when you'll have a child with behavior that you don't think this is your child.
Is that from Bushenyi, from our grandparents in Bushenyi? So they tell us?
Okay, not from Bushenyi, but yeah, it is there. It is there. You'll have those children, but you don't expect them to be angels by nature of being human. One is that if today you get your child stealing sugar, you will not cut off their arm. What will happen tomorrow if you find them stealing another thing? Would you decide to cut off the ear?
The leg.
In the long run, you might have no child because you've cut off all the parts. Now, I want to put that in the context of the NUP right now. In life, it is never a straight journey. Challenges come, problems come, good things come, you celebrate. But I think togetherness and unity should be at that point when you feel there is something wrong.
You're asking NUP to be together on issues of corruption.
No, Kidega, let me come to that. So, I am trying to answer your question of, where does this leave Mpuuga? Is he part of the party? Is he not?
Because
is it the sympathizers? Is it what exactly forms this political structure? And I think that in as much as there are these challenges, questions of leadership, administration are very pertinent. If you're saying this, Matthias Mpuuga, what he did is wrong, bring him to table, bring him to legal process. Let the court decide. And when the court decides, then you can move on together as a team. But I think that when we say, look, even if you stay, we shall proceed, there is always a saying that unity is very paramount and can lead you to greatness. But a disunited family will never go far. Because just like you said, Matthias Mpuuga has a whole long list of people that do believe in him. And I don't think that they would say maybe if it is a wrong act, the punishment should be kill him, you know. Jesus died for us. And I think he's the only person that has died for us ever since we were born. Even me cannot die for you, Kidega, in as much as I might say we are friends, you know. I cannot die for you. So the spirits of Jesus are not anymore within us. But the spirits of the unity that he preached about and brotherhood still exist.
Lynn, I agree with you on the issue of unity. Where I depart from is on what are we uniting over. These individuals are departing over a point of corruption. You're asking them to be a united front. I'm
not saying unite.
So they can now steal more.
On a point of corruption, I think if you had right the first statement I said, can we have Mpuuga dealt with in the right channel?
What would
in
that
the right
be?
Process?
What would that process be?
Courts of law. Or
the IGG should.
Yeah, we have the whistleblowers. We have the Whistleblowers Act. We have things that really
No, because Honorable Chagulanyi listed 10 points that make this issue a legal issue. 10. 1, 2, 3, challenging him that these are the 10 reasons that you must depend on to understand that this is not only a moral issue, it's a legal issue. Now let him use the 10 points and go to court.
Go to court, get remedies, and then whatever comes out.
But you know that will be an irreconcilable path. So if you're advancing the argument of unity, then the option of going to court is an irreconcilable path. You know, courts of law.
Kidega,
Once they make a ruling, once they make a decision.
You're being unjust when you say that, because it seems like you feel the law is not a cure.
No, it is a cure, but you know the law is the law. Once the courts take a decision, it now ceases to be, oh, come on, we talk about this. Come on, we advise you. No, there is an order of court that must be executed.
But you know,
And
also one of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms of reconciliation is part of the courts.
Yes. Alternative dispute resolution.
Alternative dispute resolutions. So if those fail, what next? And to me, I think that when you say, for example, when you go to court, one, you expect two things. Two, either you are acquitted, two, or
Convicted.
another one, or you're convicted. You expect those two things definitely. And to me, I think that whichever way it goes, both parties must be able to accept what has come out.
But that will be irreconcilable.
Just
And
to
you know
give
that.
Irreconcilable.
Just to give information, Tracy. The Honorable Chagwe did an interview, and in that interview he said, if this is to separate us forever, so let it be.
Yeah.
He said that. Now, a leader of his stature coming out saying, if this is not going to help us reconcile, yeah, by you doing what we want you to do, so let it be.
But that is playing to the gallery. That is playing populism. Politics.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It speaks to the quality of leaders.
Because I don't think anyone in their sober mind would condone corruption.
No one.
We all agree it's a bad thing. So the public is on the side of Bobi Wine.
But that doesn't solve it. Does that change anything?
So the sympathizers are the ones with Mpuuga. But the general public are saying corruption is bad. It has eaten up this country and
we have
and
seen
what?
people in Masaka coming out,
Those are sympathizers.
and you mean they are corrupt?
They are sympathizers. They sympathize with the person of Matthias
Matthias
Mpuuga.
Mpuuga.
Yes, irrespective. Their sympathy has overshadowed the logical question at hand.
Because the logical question is not handled in the right way.
Irrespective.
And I think media also has a role to play in this.
Yeah, media always has a role to play.
It has a very big role,
Yeah, like us here.
because
Like a practicing journalist.
yeah, like journalist Kidega. I'm happy that you've
I'm a
been
lawyer by
added.
training.
I think a third
You know,
one,
he's a lawyer.
engineer,
He's a-
lawyer, now you're now in the journalism.
Yeah. So no, because what I'm making a point here is that because if you as a leader you came out and the man when in his reply said, "Yeah, I'm not corrupt. I never did any case. It is not corruption, and they should stop calling it corruption, and it's not a legal issue. It went through the process approved by parliamentary commission, yeah, and then the parliamentary committee on finance approved it. So you cannot convict me on that." But the leader you came out.
Now that you've mentioned his letter, what do you think about the whole family dynasty accusation? That he will not be, moved by a family sort of. Is there a family dynasty within the NUP?
One, I think I may not be in the best position to answer,
From your,
to answer that.
observation.
But yes, I may not be the best person to answer that question. But according to the rumors, I don't deal in rumors, but also according to what we have seen. We have seen that a political party without ideology is built on comradeship that is baseless. Now, we have seen that the very serious influential people in the NUP that are close to family, yes, they may be the right people to do it, but they are deterring the movement. I want you to, if you listen to Honorable Matthias, he said he stopped Kunga campaign in Masaka. And he had his valid reasons that because it was not addressing the question of mobilization, but because it was championed by a family member, he was given resources. But he thinks as a sober leader, it was not the right thing to be done, and that's why he stopped it. He said, as a vice president of this area, I move and I say, this can't happen here until we sit and address what is right to be done. Now, I think because you see the formation of a political party if it's not formed on ideology and issues, this is the results. That it was a group coming together just with the chanting Museveni out, and now they are lucky they have a political party, but they have no base to define themselves. And now they have found themselves in a queue where family members are involved, which you can't throw away, but also with very sober leaders who want things to happen. I listened to Honorable Medad Segona, and he said, I want to invest my life and my energy into building a party and a system, not individuals. Not individuals. And even if with my brother and Mpuugu have done it, I want evidence, and we shall deal with it in the right way, with the right channels. Because going to do populism, it shows that there is a rift between the two leaders. It shows there's a leader who wants to prove that, by the way, I'm still your president and I'm better than you. And this one also saying, by the way, as much as you're my president, I made you. When you listen to Honorable Mpuuga's comment, he said, Honorable Kyagulanyi should remember that we made him, that we contributed to the votes he got, that we commanded Uganda for him. He's reminding him, and they did it on a public radio station.
Was it BBS?
CBS.
CBS, rather.
Yes, he reminding him that we, the leaders, we are now castigating. We contributed to who you are today. You should not treat us as mere supporters.
So does me supporting you mean that you should condone
do a wrong thing?
Corruption?
No. If you perceive that he has done a wrong thing, I don't think they're out of mechanisms. If it's a legal issue, let it be handled legally. If it's a disciplinary issue within the party, let it be handled by the disciplinary committee. And it's there. I have here, it is led by Honorable Nyas, the disciplinary committee of the party. Let them now sit and handle it as a disciplinary issue. Yeah? But going into a public uproar, now this speaks that it's a bankruptcy, now you want to...
So Nyazi is the chairperson of a committee that should discipline Right Honorable Matthias Mpuuga.
Yes.
Very interesting.
so such things, it communicates that a political party has lost its sight.
Actually, if it were corporate law,
yes,
that is where we would apply for court to unveil the corporate what? Lift the corporate veil. Because if you lift who what's the name? Nyanzi, you find what you want.
Inside. Now that is your comment.
So it is actually who is prosecuting.
And now he has failed to execute and is now back to the public. He has now brought the case into the what? Like he always does. That whenever he fails, he says, I've given it back to the people. Now if a leader who fails, keeps failing and brings issue to the people, and people can't help you. All he's doing is to cause a problem within his small party. That moving forward, trust me, if Mpuuga uses this and he says, we are moving and we are forming our own thing, trust me, the effect on Upu will not be small.
True.
And
Lynn,
I think
I want to give you 3 minutes to make your parting shots. I'll also give you Nimrod at the same time, but also maybe you could spare 2 minutes to speak about the YYM.
Yes.
And tell our audience what that is. So Lynn, you have 3 minutes, then Nimrod, you'll have the last one.
Okay, so I think maybe could we say that Bobi Wine trying to bring this in public is trying to remind the young people, the citizens of this country, Article 38, that they too can hold accountable the government officials and anyone in power, either as an individual or as an NGO or any other space that you could have. Article 38 gives mandate to you to all hold these government officials accountable. So is he trying to awaken that article or is it sleeping? Maybe on my parting shots, I think that just like family, just like societies where we live, disagreements are always there. But what should bring us forth is integrity, morality, and having self-discipline. Believing that today, if I take this 400K and keep quiet, or if I take this 400 million, I am denying a certain citizen in Chabjimbi Nyakabanga a right to access water. They are not having good health care systems. because that money you're taking in your pocket could construct a hospital in my village. If we can think of that, if we can, I think it is Mother Teresa who says that a life not lived for others is not a life. And I've always said this, that in your life, don't always think that all happiness is dwelled because you've gotten 1 billion. That's not happiness. If your neighbor is crying and you have 400 million in your pocket, keeping quiet, can you have that question of understanding and rethinking your life and definition and purpose? Can you have that appreciation that, look, we are all human beings. Whether you went to school, whether you are a Munyankwere, whether you are a Muganda, whether you are a professor, whether I sell my tomatoes on the roadside, can we know that what brings us first is that humanness? And can we check ourselves? Because I feel like most times I hear everyone, corruption, corruption, corruption. Trust me, if you convert the whole of Ugandans here to talk about corruption, everyone will talk about corruption. But where is this corrupt person? Who are these corrupt people? You know?
Is it a building?
Is it from the air? Are we importing? Is it a theory? Is it something that we are talking about
in a minute?
In a minute, you know? I think we need to rethink in ourselves. We need to think and check and balance ourselves. If we can do it on an individual basis, I think we'd become better. Thank you.
Yes, Nimrod, you have the final word.
Thank you. Now, my message goes especially to the young people in this country. We have a duty for two things. We have a duty to raise correct leaders, leaders of integrity, leaders with the vision, leaders that care about the people they lead. Whatever is happening today, I sum it as a quagmire of leadership short-sightedness in the country. That we have many leaders, but because of selfish needs, they lose sight of service delivery. The Parliament of Uganda is supposed to serve the nation, which is doing to some extent, but it must be checked as an institution. I highly advocate that the establishment of an independent payroll commission in this country to check and decide and make decisions for all the leaders on how they are supposed to earn is very key. Secondly, I agree that rewarding leaders is correct, but the way it was done in the case of former leader opposition, I think bring it as a bill in Parliament so that it's passed into law, that moving forward, all leaders can benefit from them, but most importantly, to curtail those who will come after him and ask for a raise in service awards. I think that is a very correct thing that can be done moving forward, and I hope others can champion it. Lastly, as a country, we must never condone corruption. Everyone is affected by corruption, regardless of where you are and what you do. Speaking against them, let it be our role as young people in this country. Thank you so much.
YYM, you don't
Yes, the Young Yellow Youth Movement. The Yellow Youth Movement was launched, and it is intentionally coming to advocate for four things. Mass education, the mass learning education system. We believe that the UPE, the use, the upload systems, we must encourage every young person in this country to go and study. Second, the issue of healthcare. This country, we must be able to ensure that we advocate everywhere from up and down, bottom up, that everyone gets a chance to health right. The issue of socio-economic transformation, most as young people, is the reason why YYM was established, to ensure that we are part of wealth creators. We can no longer be bystanders in our economy. So we are championing the issue of socio-economic transformation. But also, we say President Museveni is still our leader, and we are here to deliver his last win in 2026. Thank you so much.
Very interesting. That brings us to the end of this conversation this particular afternoon. Of course, this is the Women's Week, and you know, we owe it to every single woman out there who, you know, takes of time to try and do a thing for themselves, because, you know, in the words of Nelson Mandela, you know, empower a woman and you empower a nation. But also in the words, again, of Samora Machel, that the empowerment of women should not be seen as an act of some, you know, humanitarian conformity, but rather as a means of sustainable development for any country. So to the women out there, we are proud of you, and, you know, keep on going higher and higher. Nimrod, thank you. Lynn, thank you for your time.
Thank you, our viewers.
To the, you know, technical team, Malcolm and the team, thank you for ensuring that our viewers get this show right at 2 p.m. on the dot. Until next week, same time, same place, bye-bye.